I dared to ask her on a date. The alien woman's response was irresistible. The unexpected invitation. Marcus Vale adjusted his collar for the third time, watching his reflection in the polished metal of the station corridor. The diplomatic gala buzzed with conversation in a dozen languages, but his attention fixed solely on one figure across the room. Lyerle Voss moved through the crowd like liquid starlight, her natural grace making even simple gestures appear choreographed. The soft blue luminescence that traced patterns along her skin pulsed gently with each heartbeat, a feature unique to her Etherian heritage. He'd observed her for months during joint research meetings, admiring how she navigated complex negotiations with intelligence and warmth. Tonight, wearing a flowing dress that seemed to capture nebulas in its fabric, she was breathtaking. Marcus took a steadying breath and approached, his heart hammering against his ribs. "Ambassador Voss?" he began, then caught himself. "Lyerle, I was wondering if you might—" The words tangled on his tongue. She turned to him fully, her violet eyes sparkling with curiosity. "Dr. Vale? You seem distressed. Is everything all right?" "Marcus, please," he managed, finding his courage in her gentle concern. "I wanted to ask, would you consider having dinner with me? Not a formal function, just us." The question hung between them like a suspended star. Lyerle's expression shifted through surprise to something softer, more intrigued. The luminescent markings on her skin brightened subtly, creating a constellation across her cheeks. "You're asking me on what humans call a date." She laughed, a note of delighted surprise. She stepped closer, close enough that he caught the scent of something like jasmine mixed with ozone. "Do you know what you're asking, Marcus? Our peoples have worked together for years, but this—" "I know it's unconventional," Marcus admitted, his scientific mind abandoning all logic for hope. "But I can't stop thinking about our conversations, about you. Every meeting I find myself looking forward to your insights, your laugh when you explain Etherian humor that I barely understand." Lyerle tilted her head, studying him with an intensity that made his breath catch. Then, unexpectedly, she smiled, a radiant expression that transformed her ethereal beauty into something achingly real and warm. "Tomorrow night," she said softly, her hand briefly touching his. The contact sent electricity through his entire system. "And Marcus," she leaned in conspiratorially, "I've been hoping you would ask." Dancing between worlds. The observation deck stretched before them like a cathedral of stars, its transparent aluminum walls offering an unobstructed view of the cosmos. Marcus arrived early, pacing nervously until Lyerle appeared, dressed simply in midnight blue that made her natural luminescence glow like captured moonlight. She'd left her formal ambassador attire behind, and somehow this casual version of her was even more captivating. "You came," she said softly, though her smile suggested she'd never doubted it. "Wild neutron stars couldn't keep me away," Marcus replied, earning a melodious laugh that resonated in the quiet space. They walked slowly along the viewing platform, the universe sprawling endlessly beside them. "Tell me about Earth," Lyerle requested, settling onto a cushioned bench. "Not the data I've studied, but your Earth. What do you miss?" Marcus sat beside her, careful to maintain a respectful distance despite the magnetic pull he felt. "Rain," he answered after a moment. "The way it sounds on rooftops, how it makes everything smell clean and new. We have water recyclers here, but it's not the same as standing in a summer storm." Her eyes widened with wonder. "Water falling from the sky. It sounds miraculous. On Etheria, we have crystal rains, tiny fragments of frozen atmosphere that chime as they fall. During the season of resonance, the entire world becomes a symphony." "That's beautiful," Marcus breathed, mesmerized by the way her markings pulsed with her memories. What else? They traded stories like precious gifts, his childhood climbing trees, her first flight through Etheria's floating gardens. With each tale, they moved imperceptibly closer, the space between them charged with possibility. When Lirala described the bioluminescent forests of her home, her hand gestured expressively, occasionally brushing his. Your people communicate through light as much as sound, Marcus observed, fascinated by the subtle color shifts across her skin. Right now, you're happy? She looked at him directly, her markings shifting to a warm golden hue. Very happy. On Etheria, we believe emotions are meant to be visible, honest. What about humans? You hide so much behind stillness. We're taught to, Marcus admitted, but right now, I don't want to hide anything. He carefully took her hand, marveling at its warmth, at how perfectly her fingers interlaced with his. I'm terrified and exhilarated and completely enchanted by you. Lirelai's breath caught, her whole being seeming to glow brighter. Your heart, she whispered, her free hand moving to rest against his chest. I can feel it racing, like a star being born.
The Garden of Stars. The biodome was Marcus's suggestion for their third evening together. Here, earth flora grew alongside Etherian crystalline plants, creating an impossible garden where two worlds coexisted in harmony. Purple vines from Etheria wrapped gently around oak trees, while earth roses bloomed beside singing crystals that hummed in harmonious frequencies. It's like us, Lirali marveled, running her fingers along a hybrid flower that had somehow sprouted from the mingling of their world's botanies. Different origins, but finding a way to grow together. Marcus watched her explore, enchanted by her childlike wonder. The xenobotanists say it shouldn't work, but life finds a way to surprise us. He paused beside her, close enough to feel the warmth radiating from her skin. You surprise me every day. How so? Your strength during negotiations, but then this gentleness. Your brilliant mind that can navigate complex treaties, yet you find joy in simple things like these flowers. His hand moved to cup her cheek, thumb tracing the luminescent marking there. You're nothing like the formal reports suggested, and everything I never knew I was looking for. Lirali leaned into his touch, her eyes fluttering closed. On Etheria, we have a saying, the soul knows its match across any distance. I thought it was just poetry until she opened her eyes, meeting his gaze with an intensity that stole his breath. Until you. The garden around them seemed to pulse with life, responding to the energy between them. Marcus drew her closer, one arm wrapping around her waist while she pressed against him, her hands exploring the planes of his face with gentle curiosity. Your skin is so different, solid, warm, fascinating. Her fingers traced his jaw, down his neck, leaving trails of tingling sensation. Do you know what these patterns on my skin mean when they pulse like this? Marcus shook his head, hypnotized by the rapid flickering of gold and rose across her features. Desire, she breathed against his ear. Deep, undeniable desire. He pulled back just enough to look into her eyes, finding his own longing reflected there. Lirali, She silenced him with a finger to his lips. I know. I feel it too. This connection that defies logic, that transcends our differences. Her hand slid to the back of his neck, pulling him closer. Kiss me, Marcus. Show me how humans express what words cannot.
Moonlight and Confessions. Lyrali's quarters reflected her dual nature. Elegant, Etherian art pieces alongside books from Earth, star charts mingling with photographs Marcus had shared. She'd prepared dinner, a fusion of their cuisines that spoke of careful thought and consideration. The artificial moonlight streaming through her window cast everything in silver and shadow. You're nervous, Marcus observed, catching her hand as she adjusted the table setting for the third time. Perceptive, she admitted, her markings flickering with anxiety. I've never, with someone not of my kind, I want this to be perfect. It already is, he assured her, drawing her away from the table and into his arms. "You're here, I'm here. Everything else is just details." They swayed together to the soft music she'd chosen, an earth composition that somehow harmonized with Etherean tonal patterns. As they moved, Lyraley rested her head against his chest, and Marcus marveled at how right she felt in his arms. "Tell me something you've never told anyone," she murmured against him. Marcus considered, then spoke quietly. "I volunteered for this station because I was running. My fiancée on Earth couldn't understand my need to explore, to reach beyond our world. She wanted safety, predictability. When she left, I thought I'd never risk my heart again." Lyraley pulled back to look at him, her hand touching his cheek with infinite tenderness. "And now?" "Now I realize I wasn't running from something, but toward someone. Toward you." Her markings blazed with emotion, swirls of gold, rose, and deep purple that took his breath away. "Marcus, my own people questioned my posting here. An ambassador who spends more time in laboratories than negotiation halls. They said I was too fascinated by other species, that I'd lost touch with my own kind. Perhaps they were right, because when I'm with you, I don't feel Etherean or foreign. I just feel home." The confession hung between them, profound and transformative. Marcus cradled her face in both hands, thumbs stroking the soft luminescence of her skin. "Lyraley, I'm falling in love with you. Completely, irrationally, perfectly in love." Her response was beyond words. She pulled him down to her, their lips meeting in a kiss that was electric and tender, passionate and sweet. Her markings pulsed in rhythm with their heartbeats, creating a light show that painted the room in their shared emotion. When they finally parted, both breathing heavily, she whispered against his lips, "Stay with me tonight. Not just tonight, stay with me through all the nights we're given." Hearts across the cosmos. The morning cycle found them on the observation deck, where it all began, but now they stood entwined, watching the distant nebula shift through its spectrum of colors. 3 months had passed since that first date, 3 months of discovery, passion, and deepening love that had transformed them both. "The Council wants me to return to Etheria," Lyraley said quietly, her fingers tracing patterns on Marcus's hand. "They say I've completed my diplomatic mission." Marcus's arms tightened around her, but his voice remained steady. "And the Xenobiology Department wants me to take the posting on the new deep space station, further from Etherian space." They stood in silence, the weight of their separate worlds pressing against their joined hearts. Then Lyraley turned in his arms, her markings blazing with determination. "No," she said firmly. "I won't let distance define us. My people speak of bonds that transcend space. Why shouldn't ours be one of them?" "What are you saying?" asked Marcus, hope kindling in his chest. "I'm saying that I've already petitioned for a permanent ambassadorial residence here, on Harmony Bridge. This station was built to unite our peoples. Let us be the living proof of that unity." Her hands framed his face, her touch electric with emotion. "And you? Will you stay? Will you help me show both our worlds that love recognizes no boundaries?" Marcus answered by lifting her off her feet, spinning her as her delighted laughter filled the space. "Yes," he said, setting her down but keeping her close. "Yes to all of it. To building a life between worlds, to facing whatever challenges come, to loving you across any distance the universe might throw at us." She kissed him then, deep and passionate, her whole being glowing with joy that lit up the observation deck like a personal aurora. When they parted, she whispered, "The Etherian bonding ceremony requires the exchange of light, a piece of each soul given to the other. But humans don't have our luminescence.
Marcus smiled, pulling out a small device he'd been working on for weeks. Actually, I've been collaborating with the physics department. He activated it, and suddenly his own skin shimmered with a soft golden glow that harmonized with hers. It's bioresponsive, connected to my nervous system. Now I can show you what you show me. Every emotion, every truth written in light. Lorelai's expression of wonder and love was radiant enough to outshine stars. Marcus Vale, you beautiful, brilliant man. You've built a bridge between our biologies just as we've built one between our hearts. As they stood together, glowing in harmony, the cosmos sprawled endlessly around them, no longer a barrier, but a canvas for their unprecedented love. They were proof that connection transcends species, that love speaks in a universal language requiring no translation, and that sometimes the greatest discoveries come from daring to reach across the vast, beautiful unknown.